Friends Without Borders actually began as Hasler Visitors Group 30 years ago, and we're very proud to be in our 30th year. It began because a gentleman by the name of John Bingham and his wife Patricia were alarmed at the fact there were men in the immigration removal centre at Hasler who were not receiving visitors and were getting quite a poor deal. And they started visiting and took on Michael Woolley, wonderful Michael Woolley, who ran Hasler Visitors Group. When Portsmouth area refugee support had to leave the drop-in at All Saints, Michael Woolley and Hasler Visitors Group took over the drop-in as well and were later joined by the Red Cross.
My name is Mike Brown and I was a visitor at Hasler Visitors Group from 2003. I was a trustee later on and I was chair of trustees from 2007 to 2010.
I've been with Friends Without Borders since Friends Without Borders started when it changed its name from Hasler Visitors Group, but I was with Hasler Visitors Group from 2002.
I had worked for Save the Children Fund in Hong Kong with the Vietnamese boat people for 3 years back in the 90s and had a heart for refugees and their situation there. And when I returned to Portsmouth, a friend just asked me if I'd like to help at a Christmas party for refugees, and the rest is history, really. I immediately started volunteering on a regular basis and have been in various paid jobs and volunteer work ever since.
Well, the Hasler Detention Centre was a really old Victorian building, very cold and drafty and polished brick inside, a very inhospitable place for anybody to stay. It was particularly difficult for the detainees because, of course, they didn't know how long they were going to be there. Some people had been there weeks, some people had been there for over a year, and they would never know when they might be released. There were about 160 men, that was the capacity, and the detention centre was split into dormitories of about 10 or 12 men.
So I was visiting from 2002 until Hasler closed in 2015, and over that time I probably visited about, at least 50 people. About 5 of those people I visited for around 18 months. Some people just for a couple of months, some people just one visit.
The visitors had to go through a training procedure to let them know about what kind of things they would be likely to encounter amongst the prisoners and their mental state, but also about asylum law in the UK and a context of why they were in the position they were. And I have to say, throughout that time, the noughties basically, the situation for asylum seekers became steadily worse, and more asylum seekers found themselves in detention for no other reason than the system had failed them. There was very little in the way of legal representation for asylum seekers, and therefore people who had a very good case for international protection under the Refugee Convention found their cases badly handled by the representatives that they were given.
One situation I remember in particular was a young man I was visiting in Hasler, the immigration detention centre. He was from Vietnam. He'd been trafficked by his foster father, someone he thought who loved him. When he arrived in this country, he was picked up and taken to a flat in London where he was put in charge of a cannabis factory. When the police raided, he was picked up and deemed as guilty as having set this up. The Home Office decided that he was older than the young man said, so he was sent to prison, and then because they didn't know what to do, with him, he was put in detention. When he told me this story, I was very alarmed and happened to talk to somebody from Barnardo's who said that this was a very common practice within communities in London in particular, and trafficked people. And she visited this young man at Haslar. He'd been there 18 months, and within a couple of weeks she had him out, which was very rewarding.
I think the value of what the visitors achieved in Haslar over all of that time until Haslar closed would be very, very difficult to quantify. I think that for many of the detainees, the only person that they would ever see from the outside world would be their Haslar Visitors Group visitor. And simply spending that hour a week regularly with that detainee, finding out about them, listening to their story, in terms of their mental health, was invaluable. The system was quite brutal in terms of restricting their contact with the outside world to lawyers, to family, to support groups, and we tried to do our best to break that down. And one of the restrictions was on mobile telephones, but we successfully persuaded the detention estate that we could provide mobile phones to detainees and actually pay them the credit that they would need to contact family, friends, whoever they wished. My encounter with Haslar and Haslar Visitors Group actually changed my life, because I'd worked in telecommunications and I was a bit disillusioned with the industry. But my encounter with Haslar Visitors Group, and with one detainee in particular, changed my life, because I decided after that to become an immigration lawyer, and I've worked for the last 20 years with refugees. The person who actually brought that all about was a man called William Passy, who was a detainee in Haslar. He'd been a detainee for about a year, and they tried to put him on a plane back to his hometown of Kinshasa to his certain death. And I took the case on, and I built a campaign around trying to save his life, basically. And we had him bailed. We had him bailed twice. They tried to put him on a plane to Kinshasa. They failed. We went to the High Court. We went to the Court of Appeal, who agreed that the Home Office had acted unlawfully. And over a period of about 5-6 years, Willie lived with me and my family. And during that time, we fought through the legal process to have him released, to have him being granted refugee status. It involved the Portsmouth FC striker at the time, Lamana Lawalawa, who was also from the DRC. And he helped a lot. We had a lot of press coverage at the time, and ultimately we were successful. It was a long, hard battle against Home Office duplicity and hostility. In around about 2005-2006, at Haslar Visitors Group, we realised that our help for detainees shouldn't just stop at the gates of Haslar, because many people were being discharged from Haslar arbitrarily, but arbitrarily into complete destitution. And therefore, we were picking up detainees who'd been released from Haslar. Very joyous occasion to be released from detention, but not joyous when you find out the destitution that they're being released into. So at that point, Haslar Visitors Group began its support for asylum seekers in the community, particularly in Portsmouth.
I got involved with Haslar Visitors Group with the drop-in, as well as because I'd finished visiting, so I got involved with the drop-in, and I was involved first of all as a caseworker. So I was working as a caseworker 2 days a week, and also at the drop-in I got involved with refugee walks, because there's the refugee walks, which is probably down towards Calais, probably part of the Calais group. So I was doing some refugee walks with the refugees that came to Friends Without Borders.
As a Christian, I feel there are a couple of strong things that guide me. The first is that we should love our neighbours, and the second thing that guides me strongly is that we're all made in God's image, so we're all basically the same. And that really narrowed the options for me, and I saw a little reference to Friends Without Borders, and I contacted the late, great Michael Woolley, and he said, come along, see what you think. I came to the drop-in, sat alongside him for a bit, and after a while he said, right, you can become a caseworker.
The support we offer is both emotional and practical. We like the drop-in to be a safe space where anybody who needs just to socialise can come and mix and make friends, where there are English lessons, and what I'm involved in mostly is the casework. We are dealing with quite complex casework these days. We have to keep up with the changes that the Home Office bring around quite rapidly. We have to deal with people who are completely destitute, living on the streets, no income at all. That can be quite heartbreaking. I know when I'm at home at night and it's pouring with rain, I can't help but think of these people that are on the streets. We do try our hardest to get them accommodation by working with the City Council and the Rough Sleeping Hub and various other organisations within the city. And certainly we are able to give people some destitution money, just enough to keep them ticking over, hopefully. And we can refer them to all sorts of other organisations, such as food banks and larders and support groups.
So I first got involved with Friends Without Borders back in 2017 when I was elected to Parliament, and wanted to be very clear with the community that this is an organisation I wanted to work really closely with because of the vital work that they do. And that's why we would attend the drop-in sessions, why we'd pick up casework to raise issues and concerns with the Home Office and really celebrate the work of the organisation in helping those that so desperately need their support.
I do a little bit of everything at the drop-in, but one of the main things I do is help with our English mentoring. We have usually lots of small groups where we get people together and we help them either improve their English, or sometimes people don't speak any English at all. And it's all about helping people with their confidence as well. I'd say at the moment we've probably got about 30 volunteers, and I like to introduce them to the drop-in and show them round and make sure they know what they're doing and they're happy. It's quite a hectic drop-in, so but it's great. I'm really interested in mental health, and I think one of the ways we help mental health at the drop-in is we provide distraction or relaxation for people who are stressed. One of the things we do is we have an art table, and we quite often invite people in to do an art project with us.
I've been so impressed by the work of Friends Without Borders that I've been really keen to make sure that my team work alongside volunteers, that my team support the drop-in sessions at All Saints Church, and I take the issues and concerns that I hear from the organisation to Parliament to help try and change policy and influence some of the decisions of government, but also provide practical support to constituents to get the support that they so desperately need. And it's been a real pleasure to work with the organisation, and I hope it will go from strength to strength in providing the valuable service that they provide.
The Treasurer position obviously primarily is concerned with ensuring that our finances are managed properly, correctly, and in line with the requirements of a charitable organisation as defined by the Charity Commission. So clearly my primary concern is making sure that the income that we have in is sufficient to meet our expenditure needs, and that we have sufficient financial assets to operate in the near future. And that involves very often, obviously, talking to our donors. It involves contact with the tax office to claim gift aid, and it involves presenting back to our trustees on a regular basis, this is the financial position that we're in.
Initially I was a visitor of Haslar Immigration Removal Centre, but when that closed down I volunteered for the Access to Justice project to train up as a legal advisor in immigration law. I worked with John Bingham and Francis Pilling, particularly John at that moment. John was one of the founders of Friends Without Borders, or Haslar Visitors Group initially, and he was one of the founders of the Access to Justice Immigration Advice Service. It began in 2014. Here is the casebook, which we still use. You can see 28th of February 2014. John, I think it was, helpfully put that on the front. So we've been around for 10 and a half years. But in 2022, finally, with the help of Citizens Advice Portsmouth, I trained up to offer more advanced immigration advice, and since 2022 and 3, we've really begun to expand our services. We help a wide variety of clients, apparently, so some student placement volunteers found out for me by analysing this appointment book. We've had a total of, we've had about 300 clients in the last 10 years from 60 countries. This year, about a third of our clients have been homeless. Roughly the same proportion, about a third of our clients have been are survivors of domestic abuse. Of course, everything that we do is free. We are, in fact, as of the last year or so, we are the only completely free providers of casework and advice in Portsmouth. We're actually the nearest free caseworker at our level of advice for Southampton, and even I discovered recently Bournemouth. One of the things this means is that we are hugely needed and overstretched. And even when I've trained up 2 or 3 more people, we're still going to be overstretched. There is still a huge legal advice gap in this region and across the country, everywhere in this country, I think. But this is a particularly acute area. Some recent client cases that we've had that have been successful that come to mind. We had a client who had left their partner due to domestic abuse, and they were applying for indefinite leave to remain. It was a very difficult case in terms of speaking with the client and getting a statement from the client about their experiences. We liaised with domestic abuse support workers, we liaised with the police, and eventually the application was successful and that person got indefinite leave to remain. I've got a very complex case at the moment involving a client who has family who have fled a war zone in one part of the world, and their partner and children are currently stuck in a third-party country, and it's very difficult and complex trying to get their visas to come to the UK. That's taking a long time, but hopefully we will get there in the end. I've recently had successful leave to remain cases based on family life, based on Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. I think that the support we provide changes lives. We aren't always successful, we aren't always able to change lives, we aren't always able to successfully persuade the Home Office that the applications we're making meet the kinds of extremely difficult demanding criteria that the Home Office expect to see, but we are successful more often than not. We have made people's lives here much easier, much more comfortable, which is no small task given how hostile, avowedly, explicitly hostile the Home Office has been towards immigrants for the past 15 years or so.
Portsmouth has for centuries welcomed people from around the world as a port city for trade, for commerce, for social and cultural connections. And I'm really proud that our city is a city of sanctuary, supporting people from around the world at a desperate time of need and support. And being elected to Parliament, I wanted to make sure that I helped all constituents. That meant working alongside the fantastic Friends Without Borders in the important work that they do, supporting asylum seekers and refugees to settle into the country, to settle into Portsmouth, and to make sure that they're treated with dignity, respect, and with compassion.
My name is Majid, and today I'm just going to be talking about my experience with Friends Without Borders when I first met them. So when I first came to Friends Without Borders, I was in a position in my life where I actually had nothing. I was homeless, had nowhere to live. I couldn't get any help from anyone. I was statelessness. And I walked into the drop-in just by chance. And I walked out because there was so much energy, so many people. And then I came back the next week and I got introduced to the Red Cross and realized what they were doing, and Friends Without Borders running the drop-in. They were helping service users with anything to do with like legal stuff, calling up doctors. There was also food, free food that they were offering. And I suppose I just had nothing else to do and just got myself involved in volunteering.
First time when I arrived, I see the pictures. My body was shaking. I was afraid when I went there. Michael, Jeff, Michael called Jeff. They sit down with me. They asked me, "Are you Cynthia?" I told them I'm Cynthia. "You call me from Swansea?" I said, "Yes." They told me, "Oh, we have the note and the system about you." Jeff and Michael, I will feel that I am in family. I don't have to be afraid anymore. I will feel insecurity. Somebody was like, he was there for me. I didn't have this afraid. I didn't be afraid anymore.
Friends Without Borders helped me out a lot. I mean, they were quite limited in what they could do, but they would give me £20 a week, and I essentially used to use that money to pick up my daughter, who was like 4 years old at the time, and I used that money to get her food, get a taxi to her school, go to the library. It was a crazy time in my life where I was practically living off coconut and strawberry jam every night. And I think without Friends Without Borders, not only myself, but a lot of other people would have probably not still been here.
I volunteering without border because I like to helping people. I learned too much about how all the volunteering that I give something that is very human being. We appreciate our time. So I would like to volunteering as support worker, but because I don't have qualification, my English is not very good. So I'm volunteering in the kitchen. When we are doing like a party, we can cook our traditional food from our country that we appreciate very much, because sometimes when you cook from your or other people, they want to know, they are curious what you are cooking. So This we are doing in the kitchen.
I was first inspired to help refugees many years ago when I met a doctor who used to go out and help Syrian refugees in Turkey. For myself, I knew that that wasn't something I would probably ever do, but so I found the drop-in is a place in Portsmouth where I can do my little bit to help. I like to think if I ever became a refugee, that there'd be someone, and I had to flee my country, that there'll be someone in another country that would want to help me.
Lives have been turned upside down, probably largely because of colonialism, probably largely because of arms manufacture, probably largely because of bad trade agreements. And I just feel that I wear this dress that cost me £1, and I've got all these things that have been made. I have so many things, so many advantages, so many benefits personally from these trade agreements, from this country being safe because of other countries being unsafe.
One of the biggest problems that many of our clients have is finding legal advice and getting legal aid. We try to assist them with this as much as we can, but unfortunately we've had clients that have had to go to a judicial review and have no barrister or no solicitor. We can refer people to CAP, Citizens Advice Portsmouth, to their immigration department, and they have been an incredible support to many of our clients. Even if they're not able to take on an asylum case, they will often give good advice and guidance as to what our clients best need to do.
Be part of Friends with No Border is they respect you, they respect your opinion, they are not choosing you, they are not treating us badly, they are listening, they are always honest. If they can help you, they help. You cannot do nothing. They don't say, oh, we are not home office, we are not this, we can't do this. It's really appreciate this honest.
Being a refugee or an asylum seeker, or being a foreigner in any place, is such hard work, and it causes such tension. And I just hope that when people come here, that they can sit down, they can have a cup of tea, they can relax, they can meet people who they can feel pretty sure that those people will be supportive, that those people won't be judging them.
What I can say for people that have been like me, refugee, asylum seeker, a student, I know that our journey is a very difficult journey. When we are feeling lonely, not trusting, sometimes we can be abusing. We can have situations that we feel frightened to speak out the thing that is making us frightened. We are going through mental health. We are going through about our documentation from home office. We are going through for the society, because sometimes we can be isolated. So what I can say, please, we have to try difficult, trusting friend without border. If you are going through mental health, anybody, I won't know. If you speak with them that this I'm going through, seek help for them. They will help you. Your friend won't know. Your close friend, anybody don't know, because I can tell you that trust them and they can keep the confidentiality. If you are true for any help, conditional help, seek help for them.
Well, I hope we continue to be an emotional and practical support to our clients. There are many opportunities for us to expand. I would like to see more social events, activities that clients can join in on. For instance, walks, going to the library, anything that gets people out and about and is good for their mental health.
There's so many more things that we could do at Friends Without Borders, and it's changed a lot since I joined in 2017. For example, now we have a community allotment where I invite refugees and local people, which I run, and we've got loads of ideas. For example, I'd like a football team.
I think the organisation has achieved so much in the years that it's been established, but we remain in a very hostile environment for asylum seekers and refugees, and I will continue to work with the organisation to provide practical support for those that need it, but also to lobby for improved situation so that asylum seekers and refugees are treated with respect and dignity that they deserve.
It's difficult to say. The glib answer might be, I'd like the situation to come about whereby Friends Without Borders wasn't needed. But as we can see in the current times, with all the sort of violence that we're witnessing, we're a long way off from that. So Friends Without Borders is even more important, I think, both to the individual clients, but also within our society, because I think there's a lot of people, by far and away the majority of people, like to feel that as a society we are being supportive and generous to all members of our society, regardless of their background.
So as a trustee of Friends Without Borders, which I've been a trustee for about just over a year now, I found it quite strange, because I've come from the other side and now actually being a trustee and seeing the discussions and decisions that are made for the charity is quite interesting. What I'm hoping to bring is that lived experience of making the other trustees understand possibly what's needed to help migrants in the city even more. There's a misconception on people coming on boats and coming to take jobs and claim benefits and all of that, which is far from the truth. It's a situation of where people are fleeing to have a better life, and by better life we mean to be able to work, to be able to provide, to be able to be a moral citizen within the country.
I mean, we're not a particularly political organisation, but I think it needs to be politically recognised that it's such a waste of human life when people can't work, when people can't have citizenship, when people can't vote.
There's two things that are universal language, is food and art. You bring the two together, and this allows not only migrants in the city but the local community to integrate. And I feel it's very important that as a charity, Friends Without Borders and any other partners watching this, is that you try and think outside the box and look at the person as an individual. Everybody has a name. It's not that person from Iran or that person from that place. That person has a name, and that name has a family, and that family has a history.
I have never known so many donors who are loyal and supportive of something they believe in as our donors and supporters are. Every single month we get donations from an enormous range of people, and the donations range from perhaps £5 a month to over £300 a month and so on. It is absolutely incredible. I think it is, well, it almost leaves me speechless with the generosity that people show towards us. I think the second thing is that by and large, our organisation has been a volunteer-led organisation. And it's still true that all of our trustees are volunteers, and most of the workers that are involved with drop-ins and social activities and so on, they're all volunteers. And again, the commitment that they show is quite outstanding. So at the end of the day, ultimately this is all about people. It's people giving of themselves, their resources, their time, their energies towards helping those in greater need than they are.
I think I just want to add that our clients are an inspiration to us. Often the clients that are most grateful for what we've done are the clients that, in fact, we haven't been able to help very much, but they've appreciated having somebody that cares. When people go through their difficult situations of being refused asylum, etc., we try to support them the best we can. But equally, when somebody gets their leave to remain, we can celebrate in that joy with them too.